so much for doing this. It's a really, really interesting concept for your book. And it's
Thank
called
you.
Wait Like a Seed. I can see it behind you there. Tell me about Wait Like a Seed.
It's a nonfiction picture book for kids in primary grades, so about 4 to 7, and it uses milkweed and monarchs to take kids through the life cycle of a seed. And it's got some little language tucked in there that's kind of also as much about growing up as it is about growing plants.
Now, we're not just talking about plants, we're talking about butterflies in this book. Tell
That's
me about
right.
that.
Yeah, so when I first wrote the manuscript, it was about the life cycle of a seed. But when the publisher read it, she said, okay, what plant are we going to illustrate? And we decided on milkweed because then we could bring monarch butterflies in. And so in the book, we have a couple of children watching monarchs lay eggs on the milkweed plant, and the eggs hatch into caterpillars, and the caterpillars pupate and become butterflies themselves. And so we have two life cycles going on. The milkweed and the monarchs. And then at the back, this made me really happy. I was given 9 pages to do some really solid researched extra information about milkweed and monarchs, their life cycles, what they need from us, how we can help them, the incredible migration that monarch
Mhm.
butterflies go through between Canada and Mexico. It's really exciting for me. I'm a little bit nerdy that way.
No, it is exciting. And I do follow it every year because, it is tracked and so on and so forth. Now, during my research to prepare for this interview, I came across a stat that since 2000, the butterfly population has decreased by 22%. I was like, what? Why is that?
Well, habitat loss is a huge part of it.
Sure.
So the monarch butterflies traveling from Mexico up to Canada, it takes multiple generations for that to happen. And that means they need to breed along the way. And the only plant they breed on, the only plant that their young can eat is milkweed. Yeah, they're specialists that way. And so milkweed, it is a little bit toxic. And so there is a history of it being removed from anywhere that grazers are going to be, even though as long as there's anything else to eat, the grazers will eat that instead because it tastes a whole lot better.
Hmm.
But it does have that history. And so we need a whole swath of milkweed across the continent for monarchs to succeed at making that migration. When I was a kid, I spent my summers here where I live now, north of Parry Sound, and there was a ton of milkweed along my road, and we would watch the caterpillars develop and the butterflies visit. And one year they brought construction equipment in to widen the road, and it really, got my attention that these butterflies were in danger. And I actually got up early one day and went and stood beside the bulldozer, just like screwing up my courage to talk to these construction
Wow.
workers. I was about 10. Turns out it was a Sunday. Summertime, you lose track as a kid. So they
Hmm.
didn't come. We ended up moving a lot of the milkweed into our garden instead, but it it was kind of a pivotal moment for me of activism, and I went on to be an environmental activist as a kid and as a teenager.
We hear about the bees all the time. Let's talk about the butterflies. How do we help them?
Absolutely. Well, when you help one, you help the other. If you have a space to grow plants, you can grow whatever milkweed is native to your area. Here in Ontario, we have common milkweed and swamp milkweed. Swamp milkweed grows perfectly well in pots as well. So even if you just have a balcony, you can grow some. You can also grow plants that flower all throughout the season. All pollinators need that. They need some things that are flowering early in spring, some things in summer, some things late into the fall. That way, there's always something to eat. And you can have water sources for them. People can make bee waterers and butterfly waters by putting some pebbles inside a shallow dish with water so they have somewhere to land. And if you have a space to keep a little muddy patch in your yard, butterflies get their minerals that way by drinking from mud puddles.
If people want to learn more, you also have your podcast, Plants Always Win. Tell
That's
us about
right.
that.
So there's a landscaper up here in the north of Parry Sound area named Sean Patchett, and he and I started this podcast in December to be a voice for Ontario gardeners because there's not a ton for us here specifically, especially in central and northern Ontario where things are a bit colder.
Mhm.
And we, every episode, either we have a guest on or we do a plant face-off where we each compete to be the most interesting about our chosen plant or topic of the week. So it's a lot of fun.
And educational, I would imagine, especially for
Definitely.
someone like me. Like I enjoy gardening. Do I know what I'm doing? Not even a little bit, right? Like, whatever I think is pretty.
And we're really mindful of that. We want people who are just beginning to get involved in the garden to be able to follow what the heck we're talking about.
And just going back to the butterflies, I distinctly remember it was I have some lavender bushes out in front of my house, and it was a beautiful morning, and I was standing in my porch and I was just watching the butterflies flit around. And what you were saying about connecting to nature, there's a perfect example of it right now, right there.
Yeah. I have a handful of chronic illnesses, and a couple of years ago, I was really sick. I had to quit my job and just, stop
Mm.
everything. And there were days I just sat on my porch and I watched butterflies visit my garden, and it was the best thing every day to just have that moment of being in that space with them.
There really is nothing like connecting with nature in order to soothe the soul.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this. This is really fantastic. And it really is eye-opening because I thought of this as a kid's book, but the fact that you brought up that it's really for adults is great. And I would encourage everybody to go have a look at this. Wait like a seed. It's right behind you.
That's right. Share it with the whole family.